By the time Luca Bellondi arrived at his own family dinner, the woman he had hired to protect the most fragile part of his life was sitting alone in the kitchen with a half-cold plate of food in tears. She refused to let fall. The dining room behind her glittered with crystal, gold-rimmed plates, and laughter sharp enough to cut skin. Hannah Miller sat at the servants' table beneath the warm yellow light of the kitchen. Her hands folded tightly in her lap. She could hear every sound from the formal room, beyond the swinging doors, the delicate clink of wine glasses, the low voices of men who owned nightclubs, ports, construction companies, judges, and secrets. And above them all, she heard Viviana Bellandi's voice. Poor girl. Luca's mother had said only minutes earlier, smiling with diamonds at her throat. Some people mistake kindness for invitation. Hannah, dear, you are wonderful with children, but this table is for family. Family. The word had landed harder than the humiliation. Hannah had not asked to be there. She had not bought the navy dress with the modest sleeves because she wanted to pretend she belonged in a mafia mansion. She had bought it because 7-year-old Sophia had squeezed her hand that morning and whispered, "Please come tonight. Papa said everyone has to be nice." Papa. Most people did not know Sophia existed. Most people who entered the Bellondi estate saw marble floors, black-suited guards, imported chandeliers, and portraits of dead men whose eyes followed you down the hall. They saw Luca Bellondi's world, the polished, dangerous empire of a man who never raised his voice because he never needed to. But Hannah saw the hidden nursery wing. She saw the small pink slippers outside the bedroom door, the watercolor drawings tucked beneath Luca's office papers, the half-braided hair Sophia left unfinished because she hated sitting still, the nightmares the little girl had every Thursday at 2:13 a.m., always waking with the same trembling question. Did they find us? Hannah had been hired as a caregiver 3 months ago with strict conditions. She signed papers she did not fully understand. She was driven through a private gate. Her phone was taken during working hours. She was told never to speak of Sophia outside the house. And Luca Bellondi, the most feared man in New York's underworld, had looked at her with cold gray eyes and said, "My daughter is not a job. She is the only reason half this city is still breathing." Hannah had wanted to quit that first week, not because of Sophia. Because of Luca, he was too controlled, too watchful, too dangerous in silence. He moved through the house like a storm, choosing not to break. Men twice Hannah's size lowered their eyes when he passed. Even his own family measured their words around him. But Sophia had curled into Hannah's lap after a nightmare and fallen asleep clutching the sleeve of her cardigan. So Hannah stayed. And now she was sitting alone in the kitchen because Luca's mother had decided kindness had a class limit. The cook, Mrs. Alvarez, placed a clean fork beside her plate with angry gentleness. "You don't have to eat if you can," the older woman whispered. Hannah swallowed the tightness in her throat and smiled even though her face felt numb. "I'm fine." "You are not fine." "No," Hannah admitted softly, "but I'm not giving them the satisfaction." Mrs. Alvarez's eyes softened. Beyond the door, Viviana's laughter floated again. Hannah picked up her fork. Before she could take a bite, the entire mansion seemed to go still. Not quiet. Still. The kind of stillness that happened when guards heard an engine at the gate and recognized who was inside. Footsteps crossed the marble hall. Heavy, unhurried. Final. The kitchen staff froze. Mrs. Alvarez turned toward the door. One of the younger maids went pale. Hannah knew that walk. The swinging kitchen door opened. Luca Bellondi stood there in a black suit, rain darkening the shoulders of his coat. His tie slightly loosened. His expression unreadable. His gaze moved once across the kitchen. The staff, the servants' table, the plate in front of Hannah, her hands, her face. Then his eyes lifted toward the dining room, where his family had fallen silent. No one spoke. Hannah felt the humiliation burn hotter because he saw it. She would have preferred cruelty from strangers. She could survive that, but having Luca see her here, pushed away like something embarrassing, made her want to disappear. He stepped inside. "Why is Miss Miller eating in the kitchen?" he asked. His voice was calm. That made everyone more afraid. "Mrs." Alvarez opened her mouth, but Hannah stood quickly. "It's all right," she said. "Your mother thought it would be more appropriate." Luca's eyes did not leave her. "Did she?" Hannah forced a small smile. "I don't mind. That was not my question." The air tightened. Behind him, Viviana Belandi appeared in the dining room doorway, tall and elegant in silver silk. Her white hair swept into a perfect twist. She wore beauty like armor and cruelty like perfume. "Luca," she said. "Amused? You are late." His jaw shifted. "I asked why Miss Miller is eating here." Viviana tilted her head. "Because she is staff." Hannah lowered her eyes. Luca turned fully toward his mother. "She was invited. By a child. By my daughter." The word daughter struck the room like a gunshot. Several guests looked down instantly. Others exchanged sharp glances. Sophia's existence was known only in pieces, in whispers. In rumors, men were killed for repeating. Viviana's smile thinned. "Lower your voice." Luca walked past her into the dining room. For one breath. Hannah thought he was leaving her there. Then she heard his chair scrape against the marble. Not one chair. All of them. Luca's voice carried through the open doors. Cold and absolute. "Move the table." No one answered. He continued. "If Miss Miller is eating in the kitchen, then the Belandi family is eating in the kitchen." A man stammered. "Luca." Surely Luca looked at him. The man went silent. Within seconds, guards and staff began carrying the formal dinner into the kitchen. Silver trays, crystal glasses, candlesticks, wine, plates untouched by the people who suddenly looked less powerful beneath fluorescent lights and copper pans. Hannah stood frozen beside the servants' table as chairs appeared around her. Viviana's face remained composed, but her fingers tightened around her wineglass. Luca pulled out the chair beside Hannah's plate, not at the head of the table, beside her. Then he sat. The room held its breath. Only then did he look up at his family. "Now," he said quietly, "we can begin." Hannah should have felt rescued. Instead, she felt terrified, because every person in that kitchen was staring at her like Luca had just placed a crown on her head and painted a target over her heart. For the first 10 minutes, no one ate. Hannah sat with her spine straight, her fork untouched, and aware of Luca's presence beside her like heat from a flame. He did not look at her. That almost made it worse. His power sat between them, quiet and possessive, turning the kitchen into a throne room. Across from her, Luca's cousin Enzo watched with open fascination. A sleek brunette named Isabella Moretti, daughter of a rival ally, and apparently the woman Viviana wanted Luca to marry, stared at Hannah as if she had found a crack in a diamond. Viviana lifted her glass. "To family," she said. Luca did not lift his. Hannah reached for her water just to have something to do. Her hand trembled slightly. Luca noticed. Of course he noticed. Under the table, his hand shifted closer to hers, but stopped before touching. The restraint was so deliberate that Hannah felt it more than contact. He said, without looking at her, "Eat." The command was soft. Hannah's pride flared. She turned her head. "I'm not one of your men." A few people inhaled. Luca finally looked at her. For one dangerous second, she wondered if she had gone too far. His eyes were cold enough to silence a room. Men had disappeared for less than challenging him in front of family. But something changed in his expression. Not softness. Interest. No, he said. You are not. Hannah held his gaze even though her pulse hammered. Then she picked up her fork and took one bite. Luca's mouth almost curved. Almost. That small almost made Isabella's eyes sharpen. Dinner resumed in fragments. Conversation became careful, brittle, meaningless. Businessmen discussed shipping delays. An uncle mentioned a judge retirement. Viviana asked Isabella about her charity gala in a voice sweet enough to poison tea. Hannah focused on breathing. Then Sophia appeared in the doorway. The little girl stood barefoot in a pale blue nightgown, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her dark curls were messy from sleep. Her eyes moved from the crowded kitchen to Hannah, then to Luca. Papa, every adult in the room reacted. Some with tenderness, some with calculation. Viviana's face hardened so quickly that Hannah saw the truth before she understood it. Sophia was not merely hidden from enemies. She was unwanted by parts of her own blood. Luca stood instantly. Hannah did too. But Sophia ran past him and straight into Hannah's arms. The kitchen went silent again. Hannah crouched and gathered the child close. Hey, sweetheart. Bad dream, Sophia nodded against her shoulder. I woke up and you weren't there. I'm right here. Grandmother said you shouldn't sit with us. Hannah's eyes closed briefly. Luca's face became lethal. Viviana set down her glass. Children misunderstand. Sophia pulled back and looked at her father. Did I do something bad? No, Luca said. His voice changed when he spoke to Sophia. Not soft. Exactly. But lower. Less like steel. More like steel wrapped in velvet. He crossed the room and knelt before his daughter, ignoring the stunned faces around him. You did nothing bad. Then why can it Hannah be family? The question landed where every weapon in the room could not. Hannah felt tears rise and fought them down. Luca looked at her. There was something in his eyes she had never seen before. Fear. Not fear for himself. Never that. Fear that the child had named something he had no right to want. Before he could answer, one of his guards entered the kitchen and leaned close to him. The man whispered only 3 words. Westgate breached. Luca stood. The room changed instantly. Chairs scraped. Men reached under jackets. Guards moved toward windows. Viviana went very still. Isabella's face drained of color. Hannah hugged Sophia tighter. Luca looked at her. Take Sophia upstairs. Hannah nodded, already moving. But before she reached the back stairs, the kitchen windows exploded inward. Glass burst across the floor like ice. Sophia screamed. Luca moved faster than thought. He crossed the kitchen, grabbed Hannah and Sophia, and drove them behind the thick marble island as gunfire cracked through the night. The entire mansion erupted. Men shouted. Women screamed. Guards returned fire. The chandelier in the dining room shattered in a rain of crystal. Hannah pressed Sophia beneath her body, shielding her with both arms. Luca crouched over them, his body blocking the open side of the island. His gun was in his hand now, black and steady. Hannah had known what he was, but knowing and seeing were different things. He fired twice without flinching. A man outside fell. Sophia sobbed against Hannah's chest. It's okay, Hannah whispered. You've got you. I've got you. Luca looked down at them. His face was calm, but his eyes were burning. When I say move, you move. Hannah nodded. A second volley slammed into the kitchen cabinets. Luca snapped an order in Italian. 2 guards shifted position. Smoke crawled along the ceiling. Then he grabbed Hannah's wrist. Now, they ran. Through the servants' corridor, past broken glass, down a narrow staircase Hannah had never used. Luca moved with one hand on Sophia's back and the other gripping Hannah's wrist as if he would tear the world apart before letting go. At the bottom of the stairs, he shoved open a steel door. An underground garage waited beneath the mansion. Black SUVs stood in a line, engines already running. Luca opened the rear door of the nearest one and lifted Sophia inside. Hannah climbed after her. Before Luca could step in, a shot cracked from somewhere behind them. His body jerked. Hannah saw blood bloom dark against his white shirt near his ribs. Luca, he looked almost annoyed. Drive, he ordered. The SUV roared forward. Hannah reached for him as he finally climbed in beside her. You're bleeding. You've had worse. I didn't ask for your resume. His eyes flicked to hers. Even wounded. Even furious. He looked at her as though she was the dangerous thing in the car. Sophia cried harder. Hannah pulled the little girl into her lap and then pressed her free hand against Luca's wound. He inhaled sharply, but did not push her away. You need pressure, she said. Do not argue with me. His mouth tightened. You were a nurse. Hannah froze. She had never told him that. The SUV sped through rain-slicked back roads, headlights off, followed by two more vehicles. Luca's gaze stayed on her face. You listed caregiver on your papers, he said. You investigated me. I investigate everyone who comes near my daughter. That's not the same as knowing me. No, he said quietly. It is not. The words sat between them, strangely intimate beneath the gunfire, fading behind them. Hannah kept pressure on his wound. His blood warmed her palm. Sophia trembled in her lap. Luca watched Hannah's hand, then her face. You did not panic. I panicked later, she said. I'm busy right now. Again. That almost smile. Then his eyes closed for half a second. Too long. Hannah slapped his cheek lightly. His eyes open. The driver nearly swerved. Luca looked at her in disbelief. Stay awake, she snapped. No one in the SUV breathed. Then Luca Belandi, bleeding in the back seat after an assassination attempt, gave a low, quiet laugh. It lasted only 1 second. But Hannah felt something shift, something dangerous, something she could not name. They reached the safe house at dawn. It was not a house so much as a fortress disguised as a lonely coastal estate overlooking the gray Atlantic. Black SUVs lined the gravel drive. Armed men stood beneath bare trees. The sky was pale, the ocean restless, the wind sharp enough to sting. Inside, everything was stone, leather, shadows, and locked doors. A doctor stitched Luca in a private room while Hannah sat nearby with Sophia asleep against her side. No one had asked her to stay. No one had asked her to leave. Luca had simply looked at her once when the doctor arrived. And somehow everyone understood that Hannah was not to be moved. The doctor, a handsome man named Dr. Julian Vale, cut away Luca's ruined shirt and worked with efficient hands. Hannah tried not to look at Luca's bare chest. She failed. His body carried old scars like a map written in violence. A long, pale line across his shoulder, a mark near his collarbone, a healed bullet wound below his ribs. Tattoos climbed his right arm. Black ink disappearing beneath his skin like secrets refusing to die. Julian glanced at Hannah. You did well in the car. She kept me conscious by assaulting me. Luca said. Hannah looked at him. You're welcome. Julian smiled. Luca noticed. The room temperature seemed to drop. Julian's smile disappeared. Hannah rolled her eyes. Don't glare at the man, stitching your body shut. I was not glaring. You were absolutely glaring. Luca looked at her for a long moment. Julian cleared his throat. The wound is clean. He live. He usually does, said a voice from the doorway. Viviana Belandi entered without knocking. Even after a mansion attack, she looked immaculate. Silver silk replaced by black cashmere, diamonds replaced by pearls. Her grief, if she felt any, was invisible. Luca's expression closed. Mother. Viviana looked at Sophia asleep against Hannah. You should have sent the child with me. No. One day your stubbornness will kill her. Luca stood despite the doctor's protest. Shirt open. Bandage stark white against his skin. One day someone will learn not to speak of my daughter as a burden. Viviana's eyes cut to Hannah. And one day this girl will learn that being useful is not the same as being loved. Hannah felt the words strike, but she did not flinch. Luca took one step forward. Hannah stood too. Don't. Both Belandis looked at her. Hannah carefully shifted Sophia onto the sofa and faced Viviana. I don't know what your problem is with me, she said, voice steady. But do not put it on Sophia. She hears more than you think. She understands more than you want. Viviana stared at her. Then she smiled faintly. How brave. The caregiver has opinions. Yes, Hannah said, and unlike yours, mine don't cost a child her sense of safety. The room went dead silent. Luca watched Hannah as if he had never seen her before. Viviana's smile vanished. You forget yourself. No, Hannah said. I remembered myself. That's the difference. For one breath. Hannah thought Viviana might strike her. Instead, the older woman turned to Luca. You need an alliance. Last night proved it. The Sorrentinos are moving. The Moretti girl is willing. Marry Isabella. And this ends. Hannah's stomach twisted. Luca's eyes stayed cold. Leave. This is not romance. Luca. This is survival. I said leave. Viviana stepped closer, lowering her voice. That child's mother died because you thought love made you untouchable. Luca's face changed. Not much, but enough. Hannah saw the wound beneath the scar. Viviana looked satisfied. Then she left. For a long moment, only the ocean moved outside the windows. Hannah turned toward Luca, Sophia's mother. His jaw tightened. Do not ask questions you are not ready to hear answered. I live with your daughter. I held her while bullets came through your kitchen. I think I've earned a few answers. He looked at Sophia. Something in him retreated. Her name was Elena. He said, she was not Mafia. She worked in an art gallery. I kept her separate from this life until the night my enemies found her. Hannah's anger softened despite herself. I'm sorry. I did not bring you here for sympathy. No, she said. You brought me here because you're terrified. His gaze snapped back to her. Anyone else might have stepped away. Hannah did not. You think if Sophia is hidden well enough, guarded well enough, controlled well enough, nothing can touch her. But she's still lonely. Luca, she's still afraid. And every time your family treats her like a secret, she learns to feel ashamed of existing. His expression became unreadable. Be careful. I am careful. Hannah whispered, that's why I'm telling you. The space between them shrank without either of them moving. He was still shirtless beneath his open dress shirt. She could smell rain on his skin. Antiseptic. Smoke. Something darker. His hand lifted slightly, as if he might touch her face. Then Sophia stirred. Luca stepped back. The moment broke, but not cleanly. It left something behind. By noon, The world knew Hannah Miller's name. A photograph from the kitchen dinner had leaked online. It showed Hannah at the servants' table, with Luca seated beside her. His family crowded awkwardly around them, under the kitchen lights. The angle made it look almost romantic, Luca leaning slightly toward her. Hannah's face turned away, Viviana staring at them like she had swallowed glass. By evening, gossip accounts called her Luca Bellandi's secret mistress. By midnight, news sites called her the mystery woman who survived the Bellondi mansion attack. By morning, every enemy Luca had knew Hannah existed. Luca found her in the safe house library, staring at her own face on a tablet. She wore jeans and a cream sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders, her expression pale but angry. "Did you leak this?" she asked without looking up. "No." "Did your mother?" "Probably." Hannah laughed once. Humorless. "You're very calm about that." "I am never calm about betrayal. I am only patient." She looked at him then. That should not have affected him. It did. Hannah Miller did not look at him the way most people did. Not with fear polished into obedience. Not with hunger disguised as admiration. She looked at him as though she was constantly deciding whether he was man or monster, and refusing to let anyone else answer for her. Luca had built his life on being unreadable. Hannah kept reading him anyway. "I want to leave," she said. "No." Her eyes flashed. "That wasn't a request. You leave. You die. You don't know that. I know men who will make it slow just to hurt me. That is not my problem." Luca stepped closer. "It became your problem when you sat beside my daughter during an attack." "No," Hannah said. "It became yours when your family dragged me into their games." The truth of it struck harder because she was right. Luca looked toward the window where the sea hammered the cliffs. "I will fix it. You can fix humiliation by making a bigger spectacle. You can fix danger by locking me in a prettier cage. And you can fix Sophia's life by pretending nobody can love her unless you approve the room first." His fingers curled at his sides. She was too close to things he did not let anyone touch. So he did what he always did when something threatened control. He became cruel. "You are here because I pay you." Hannah went still. The second the words left his mouth, he regretted them. Not visibly. Regret was a luxury men like him learned to bleed internally. But Hannah saw it anyway. Her face changed. Not broken. Worse, disappointed. "Then pay me through the week," she said quietly. "And after that, find someone else to purchase." She walked past him. He could have stopped her. He did not. That night, Luca sat alone in the surveillance room beneath the safe house and watched every angle from the mansion attack. Not because he needed to see the gunmen. His men were already hunting them. He watched the kitchen footage. He watched Viviana place Hannah at the servants' table. Watched Hannah sit down with dignity. Watched Sophia appear. Watched Hannah protect his daughter before anyone else moved. Then he watched himself enter. He saw the moment his face changed when he found Hannah alone. He paused the footage there. Enzo entered behind him. "You look like a man studying his execution." Luca did not turn. "Who leaked the photograph?" "Came from an internal security feed." "Who accessed it?" Enzo hesitated. Luca finally looked at him. "Enzo Seahill, your mother's private aide." Luca's eyes darkened. "And there's more," Enzo said. "A second file went out. Not public. Direct to Sorrentino channels." "What file?" Enzo placed a folder on the desk. Luca opened it. Hannah Miller's old life stared back at him. Trauma nurse. Atlantic City. Witness statement. Sealed police record. Name attached to the death of a Sorrentino lieutenant who had bled out after naming a rival inside the hospital. Luca read the final line twice. Hannah Miller had once testified under protection. Then she vanished. Witness protection. Rage rose in Luca, so cold it felt like clarity. His mother had not merely humiliated Hannah. She had exposed her. The door opened softly behind them. Hannah stood there. She had heard enough. Her face was white. Luca closed the file. Too late. You had my protected records, she whispered. Hannah Dawn. Her voice cracked once, then steadied. Do you know what happens when men like the Sorrentinos find people like me? Luca stood slowly. They will not touch you. They already did. Her eyes shone. They took my name, my apartment, my hospital, my friends. I spent 2 years teaching myself not to jump when cars slowed down. And now your family handed them my life like a dinner invitation. Enzo looked away. Luca walked toward her. She stepped back. That stopped him more effectively than any weapon. I did not know, he said. But you had the file. I had background checks. You had a grave with my name on it and called it security. His throat tightened. Before he could answer, Sophia appeared at the hallway behind Hannah, small and sleepy. Hannah wiped her face quickly and turned. Hey, sweetheart, are you leaving? Hannah closed her eyes. Sophia's lower lip trembled. Everyone leaves when Papa gets angry. Luca felt the words like a knife sliding between his ribs. Hannah knelt. I'm not leaving tonight. Sophia threw herself into her arms. Luca watched them. And for the first time in years, he understood that protection and possession were not the same thing. The next day, Luca made the scandal worse on purpose. He called a press conference outside the Belandi Foundation Hospital, the one his family used to launder influence through charity. Cameras gathered behind barricades. Reporters shouted questions about the attack, the leaked photo, the mystery caregiver, and rumors of a marriage alliance with Isabella Moretti. Hannah watched from inside a black SUV, furious. You are using me. Luca sat beside her, dressed in a black coat, bandage hidden beneath perfect tailoring. I am drawing fire away from Sophia and onto me. His jaw hardened. Onto us. There is no us. He looked at her. Not angry this time. Something worse. Patient. Today there is. Before she could answer, he stepped out. The shouting exploded. Luca walked to the microphones with the controlled pace of a man who could buy the pavement beneath his shoes. His guards fanned out behind him. Hannah stayed in the SUV with Sophia beside her. Then a reporter shouted, Mr. Belandi, is Hannah Miller your mistress? Luca looked directly at the cameras. No, Viviana. Watching from the hospital steps, visibly relaxed. Then Luca said, she is under my protection. The city seemed to inhale, and anyone who speaks her name with disrespect. He continued, will answer to me. Hannah's heart slammed. Another reporter yelled, are you engaged to Isabella Moretti? Luca's gaze flicked briefly to where Isabella stood beside Viviana in a white coat and diamonds. No. Isabella's face went still. Luca looked back at the cameras. There will be no marriage alliance. Viviana's mask cracked. A shot rang out. The crowd screamed. Luca moved before anyone understood what had happened. He turned and lunged toward the SUV. Hannah saw him coming through the window. Anne saw the second shooter rise from behind a news van. Saw the gun point not at Luca, at Sophia. Hannah threw herself over the child. The bullet punched through the SUV window. Glass burst across her shoulder. Sophia screamed. Luca ripped open the door, dragged both of them out, and covered them with his body as guards opened fire. Cameras captured everything the Mafia boss on one knee in the street, one arm around his hidden daughter, the other around the curvy caregiver, bleeding from a cut near her collarbone. Hannah's ears rang. Luca's face was inches from hers. Are you hit? I'm okay. Are you hit? No. His hand came up, trembling almost imperceptibly as he brushed glass from her hair. He stopped himself before touching her cheek. But she saw the fear. This time, he could not hide it. The footage went viral within an hour. By nightfall, the city no longer asked whether Hannah Miller was Luca Belandi's mistress. It asked why the most feared man in New York looked ready to burn the world because a caregiver had almost died. At the safe house, Hannah found him in the chapel. It was a small room at the back of the estate, built by some long-dead owner who had believed stone walls could hold prayers. Candles burned beneath a stained glass window. Rain scratched at the glass. Luca stood before the altar. Jacket discarded. Sleeves rolled to his elbows. His hands were bruised. Hannah knew better than to ask from what. You should be resting, she said. So should you. I'm not the one who got stitched yesterday. I'm not the one bleeding today. She touched the bandage near her collarbone. It's a scratch. His laugh was low and without humor. I have killed men for less. That's not romantic. I was not trying to be romantic. No, she said softly. You never are. He turned. Candlelight carved shadows along his face. For the first time, he looked tired, not weak. Never weak. But tired in the ancient way of men who had survived too much by killing every soft part of themselves. Hannah walked closer. Why did you say I was under your protection? Because it was true. That's not an answer. It is the only one I can give safely. She shook her head. You keep using that word. Safe. But you don't mean safe. You mean controlled? His eyes sharpened. And you keep standing close to dangerous things. He said, maybe because one of them keeps looking at me like I am already his. The silence after that was alive. Luca's hand flexed. Hannah. She hated how he said her name. Like warning. Like want. Like confession buried alive. He took one step closer. I am not a man you should invite closer. I didn't invite you. No. He said, you challenged me. It is worse. Her breath caught. He lifted his hand again. Slowly this time, giving her every chance to move away. She did not. His fingers stopped a fraction from her cheek. That restraint nearly undid her. Tell me to stop, he said. You haven't touched me. His eyes dropped to her mouth. I know. The chapel door opened. Enzo stepped in, then immediately froze. Bad time. Luca did not look away from Hannah. It better be blood or betrayal. Enzo swallowed. Both. The betrayal had a name. Viviana. She had sent Hannah's sealed witness file to Matteo Sorrentino, heir to the rival family whose lieutenant had died after Hannah's testimony. In exchange, Sorrentino promised to spare Sofia and support Luca's forced marriage to Isabella Moretti. The attack at the mansion had not been meant to kill Luca. It had been meant to make him afraid enough to obey. The hospital shooting had been Matteo improvising after Luca refused. Luca listened to Enzo's report without moving. Hannah felt horror unfold slowly inside her. Your mother sold out a child, she whispered. Luca's voice was quiet. She sold out too. Hannah understood then. Sofia and Luca. Viviana had raised him like a weapon. And now that the weapon had learned to love something, she wanted to break his fingers off the trigger. What happens now? Hannah asked. Enzo looked at Luca. Luca looked toward the rain-dark window. Now, he said, we let them think they won. The fake engagement announcement came at noon. Not to Hannah, to Isabella. The headline spread across every major society account in New York. Luca Belandi expected to formalize alliance with Isabella Moretti at private harbor gala. Hannah read it in Sofia's bedroom, while the little girl painted crooked yellow flowers on paper. She told herself she felt nothing. That was a lie. By sunset, Luca came to the doorway. Sophia ran to him with the painting. He praised it like it was museum-worthy, then sent her with Mrs. Alvarez for dinner. Hannah kept folding Sophia's blanket. You were marrying her. No, that is not what the entire internet says. The internet also says you are my mistress. She threw the blanket onto the bed. Donta. He entered the room and closed the door. It is bait. So I'm supposed to be fine watching you stand beside a woman your mother chose while I hide upstairs with your secret child? His face tightened. The words had escaped before she could soften them. But perhaps they needed to be sharp. Luca stepped closer. Sophia is not ashamed to me. Then stop letting the world treat her like one. I am trying to keep her alive. And what will be left of her when survival is all she's allowed to have? His answer did not come. Hannah's anger faltered under the pain in his silence. I know you love her, she said more softly. But love that only hides can start to feel like rejection. Luca turned away. When he spoke, his voice was almost too quiet to hear. Elena begged me to take Sophia public. She said secrets rot from the inside. I told her I knew how to protect my own family. He swallowed. That night, she died in a car meant for me. Hannah's heart twisted. She was 7 months pregnant with our second child. The room went still. Hannah covered her mouth. Luca stood like stone. I buried my wife and my son before dawn, he said. Then I took Sophia from her bed, erased every record I could, and made the city believe Luca Bellondi had no heirs. Hannah moved toward him without thinking. This time, when he looked at her, the coldness was gone. Only grief remained. I am not good at love, he said. I only know how to guard what I cannot survive losing. Hannah stopped in front of him. You can guard someone from needing you. His hand came up. This time, he touched her. Just 2 fingers against her cheek. Light enough to be withdrawn. Devastating enough to change the room. Hannah closed her eyes for 1 second. Then he stepped back. I need you to stay away from the gala tomorrow night. She opened her eyes. Why? Because if Matteo sees what you are becoming to me, he will use you. What am I becoming? His expression locked down. Do not ask me that tonight. It was not enough. It was too much. The harbor gala glittered like a trap. Rain fell over the private marina, turning the black water into broken glass. Luxury cars rolled beneath white tents. Men in dark suits carried umbrellas for women in diamonds. Cameras flashed at the edge of the security line. Hannah was supposed to be at the safe house. She was not. She came because Sophia had slipped her a folded drawing that morning. It showed a family at a long table. Luca, Sophia, Hannah, a kitchen lamp above them, like a sun. On the back, Sophia had written, "Please don't let them send you away." So Hannah put on the dark green dress Luca's assistant had bought her after the attack, twisted her hair up with shaking hands, and arrived with Enzo, who looked deeply unhappy. He will kill me, Enzo muttered. He can try after I'm done, yelling at him. You two deserve each other. Inside, the gala smelled of rain, money, and expensive lies. Luca stood near the center of the ballroom beside Isabella Moretti. He looked breathtaking and untouchable in black. Isabella looked perfect in white. Viviana stood nearby, smiling for photographers as if she had not betrayed her own blood. Then Luca saw Hannah. Everything stopped. His face did not change much, but she felt the impact from across the room. Isabella noticed. So did Viviana. So did Matteo Sorrentino. Matteo was younger than Hannah expected, handsome in a cruel, polished way, with eyes that never rested long enough to seem human. He approached her with a glass of champagne. Hannah Miller, he said. The famous caregiver. Enzo stepped forward. Matteo smiled. Relax. I moan, only introducing myself. Hannah lifted her chin. I know who you are. Then you know we have history. You mean your family tried to kill me after I told the truth? His smile widened. Truth is such an expensive hobby. Before Enzo could move, Luca was there. No rush. No scene. Just suddenly between them. Step back. Luca said. Matteo looked amused. From your employee, Luca's eyes went flat. Hannah placed a hand lightly on Luca's arm. It was meant to calm him. Instead, the entire ballroom saw it. Cameras flashed. Viviana's smile died. Matteo's gaze dropped to Hannah's hand. There it is, he murmured. The weakness? Luca moved so fast, Hannah barely saw it. 1 second, Matteo was smiling. The next, Luca had him by the throat against a marble column. Not choking him enough to kill. Only enough to remind every person in the room that civilization was a costume Luca wore by choice. The ballroom froze. Hannah stepped closer. Luca. His grip tightened. Matteo laughed through shallow breaths. Your mother said you'd ruin yourself for the wrong woman. Luca leaned in. My mother has always underestimated what I am willing to ruin. Then the lights went out. Gunfire tore through the dark. Screams shattered the ballroom. Luca's hand found Hannah's waist and pulled her against him, turning his body between her and the shots. Glass exploded. Music crashed into static. Somewhere. Viviana screamed, Luca's name, not in fear for him. Hannah realized, but in rage that her plan was failing. Emergency lights flickered red. Hannah saw armed men entering from the harbor doors. Sorrentino soldiers. Guests scattered. Guards returned fire. The white tents outside whipped in the storm. Luca pushed Hannah behind the bar. Stay down. No. His eyes blazed. Hannah, I saw Matteo's men take Sophia's bracelet from your mother's aide. Luca went still. What Hannah pointed across the ballroom. Viviana's aide was running toward a service exit, clutching something small and pink. Sophia's medical bracelet. Proof of identity. Proof that Luca had a daughter. Proof enemies could sell. Luca turned to Enzo. Get Hannah out. Hannah grabbed Luca's sleeve. I'm coming with you. No. You don't know where the staff corridors lead. I do. I worked houses like this before nursing. Rich people always build kitchens like escape routes. For one, heartbeat. Fury and admiration warred in his eyes. Then he took her hand. Stay behind me. They ran through smoke, rain, and chaos. Down a service hallway, past overturned trays, through a pantry lined with silver platters. Hannah led him into a narrow stairwell, just as Matteo's men followed. Luca fired once over his shoulder. A man dropped behind them. Hannah did not look back. At the bottom of the stairwell, they reached the harbor kitchen. Industrial lights flickered above stainless steel counters. Rain hammered the loading dock doors. Viviana's aide stood there with Matteo, handing him a small velvet pouch. Matteo opened it. Inside lay Sophia's bracelet. Luca's gun rose. Matteo grabbed the aide and used him as a shield. Careful, Matteo said. This little bracelet is already copied. By morning, every family in the country knows your daughter's name. Luca's face was deathly calm. Hannah looked at Viviana's aide. The man was trembling, sweating, not loyal, terrified. She stepped from behind Luca. Hannah, Luca warned. She ignored him. You don't want to die for them, she told the aide. Give him the bracelet. Matteo laughed. How sweet. The caregiver thinks kindness works here. No, Hannah said. I think fear does. And he's more afraid of Luca than he is of you. The ade's eyes flicked to Luca. Luca did not blink. That was enough. The aide threw the pouch. Matteo cursed and fired. Luca shoved Hannah down, took the shot across his arm, and fired back. The room exploded into violence. Hannah crawled behind a steel counter, the bracelet clutched in her fist. Luca fought like a man who had emptied himself of mercy. Controlled, precise, terrifying. Matteo ran for the dock. Hannah saw the second gun before Luca did. Viviana stood at the kitchen entrance, pale but composed, holding a pistol with both hands. Not aimed at Luca, aimed at Hannah. "I warned you," Viviana said. "Useful girls always imagine themselves beloved." Luca turned. For the first time, Hannah saw him truly afraid. "Mother," he said. Viviana's hand shook. "She made you weak." "No," Hannah whispered. "She made you visible." Viviana's eyes filled with hatred. Her finger tightened. Luca stepped in front of Hannah. The shot rang out, but Viviana's gun flew from her hand before the bullet left cleanly. Enzo stood behind her, weapon raised. Viviana gasped, clutching her wrist. Luca did not move for a moment. Then he walked to his mother. Every person in that kitchen seemed to understand they were watching the end of an empire inside a family. Viviana looked up at him. "I made you," she whispered. Luca's voice was hollow. "No, you sharpened me. There is a difference. You will lose everything for her." He looked back at Hannah. She stood in the broken kitchen lights, rain blowing in through the open dock doors. Sophia's bracelet pressed to her heart. Her dress was torn near the hem. Her hair had fallen loose. Her face was pale, frightened, furious, alive. Luca had seen women in diamonds, women trained to want power, women who smiled at blood because it came with money. But Hannah Miller, curvy caregiver with stubborn eyes and shaking hands, had walked into his darkness and refused to kneel to it. "No," he said, "I would have lost everything without her." Viviana was taken away before dawn. Matteo Sorrentino was captured at the harbor after trying to flee by boat. The leaked files were buried, bought, destroyed, and then weaponized in court by men Luca owned, and men Hannah insisted he use legally whenever possible. That argument lasted 3 hours. She won half of it, which, Luca told Enzo later, was how he knew she was dangerous. 2 weeks passed before Hannah returned to the Bellondi mansion. The east wing was still under repair. Bullet holes had been patched. New glass shone in the kitchen windows. The formal dining room remained untouched, frozen in the memory of Crystal, bloodless violence, and humiliation. Hannah arrived in the afternoon, wearing a simple burgundy sweater and black pants, carrying one suitcase. Luca met her in the foyer. No guards stood between them, only silence. "You came back," he said. For Sophia, his expression did not change, but she knew him better now. The words hurt. She let them. "And," she added, "because Mrs. Alvarez threatened to quit if I didn't taste her soup." A faint breath left him, almost a laugh, almost relief. Sophia came flying down the stairs and slammed into Hannah with enough force to make her stumble. Luca reached instinctively to steady them both, then stopped himself. Hannah looked at his hand. Still afraid to touch things you love, his eyes lifted. Sophia looked between them with the shameless curiosity of a child. Luca crouched before his daughter first. "I need to tell you something," he said. Sophia's smile faded. Luca took her small hands carefully. "You are not a secret because I am ashamed. You were a secret because I was afraid. I thought hiding you meant protecting you. But Hannah was right. Hannah's chest tightened. Sophia whispered. About what? That love cannot live forever behind locked doors. Sophia looked at Hannah, then back at him. Does that mean I can go to school? Luca looked as if she had asked to drive a tank through Manhattan. Hannah coughed into her hand. He gave her a dark look. Then he looked at Sophia. We will discuss school. Sophia narrowed her eyes. That means yes, if Hannah helps. Luca, Seahill. Unfortunately, yes. That evening, Luca hosted dinner. Not in the formal dining room. In the kitchen, Mrs. Alvarez cooked. Sophia set napkins crookedly. Enzo brought flowers and claimed he had no idea how they got there. The long servants' table had been replaced with a larger wooden one, warm and simple beneath hanging copper lights. Luca invited no distant cousins, no corrupt businessmen, no marriage candidates. Only the people who had chosen Sophia when choosing her was dangerous. Hannah came downstairs last. She stopped at the kitchen doorway. For a moment, memory overlaid the present, her cold plate, Viviana's voice, the sting of being sent away. Then Luca pulled out the chair beside him. The same gesture, a different meaning. Hannah walked in slowly. Sophia grinned. You sit next to Papa. Hannah arched a brow at Luca. Did Papa order that? No. Luca said. Papa was warned not to be controlling. Enzo nearly choked on his wine. Hannah zot. Luca did not touch her. Not yet. Dinner was warm. Imperfect. Alive. Sophia talked too much. Mrs. Alvarez corrected Enzo's table manners. Rain tapped gently at the windows, no longer sounding like gunfire. For once, the mansion felt less like a fortress and more like a home learning how to breathe. After Sophia fell asleep on the sofa, Hannah stepped into the garden. The storm had passed. The city glowed beyond the estate walls, distant and dangerous, but quieter somehow. Luca found her beneath the covered terrace. You should have a guard, he said. She smiled faintly. Romantic as ever. I am trying. I know. He stood beside her, leaving just enough space for restraint to suffer. Hannah looked out at the wet garden. What happens now? Whatever you choose. She turned to him. That doesn't sound like you. No, he said. It sounds like what you deserve. Her heart ached at the effort in his voice. And what do you want? She asked. He was silent for so long she thought he might not answer. Then he said, I want to stop checking every room for exits before I look at you. I want my daughter to laugh without counting footsteps in the hall. I want my home to have lights on in the kitchen because you are there. Not because my enemies are burning the world outside. His voice lowered. I want things I have no right to ask from you. Hannah's breath caught. Luca turned fully toward her. I will not make you a prisoner of my love. He said, I will not call protection devotion when it is fear wearing a nicer suit. If you stay, it will be because you choose to. If you leave, every road out of this city will be safe. And if I choose something in between, his eyes searched hers. Then I will learn patience. She laughed softly. That sounds painful for you. Excruciating. The smile faded between them. Hannah stepped closer. Luca went still. Touch me, she whispered. He looked almost pained. Be certain. I'm certain. His hand rose slowly. The same hand that had held guns, signed death warrants, carried his daughter from nightmares, and moved an entire dinner table because Hannah Miller had been made to feel small. This time, he did not stop. His palm cupped her cheek. Gently, so gently it hurt. Hannah leaned into him. Something broke across his face, not control. Exactly. But the illusion that control had ever saved him. He kissed her like a man, afraid the world might punish him for wanting tenderness, and like a man ready to punish the world back if it tried. The kiss was restrained at first, almost reverent. Then Hannah's hands gripped his coat, and Luca made a low sound in his throat that turned the night electric. He pulled her closer, not claiming, not trapping, holding, as if she were the first thing he had ever been trusted not to destroy. When they finally parted, his forehead rested against hers. "Still afraid of me?" he asked. "Yes," she whispered. His body tensed. Hannah touched his jaw. "But not because I think you'll hurt me." "Then why?" "Because I think loving you will change my life." His eyes darkened with something fierce and tender. "It already changed mine." Months later, the Belandi mansion became famous for a photograph no one had leaked. This one was released on purpose. It showed Luca Belandi sitting at a kitchen table with his daughter on his lap, his arm around Hannah Miller's chair, and flour on the sleeve of his $1,000 suit because Sophia had insisted on helping Mrs. Alvarez bake bread. There were no diamonds in the picture, no chandeliers, no formal table, no mother deciding who belonged. Just a dangerous man, a brave woman, and a little girl smiling like she had finally been allowed to exist in the light. The caption was simple: family dinner. That night, after the city finished whispering, Hannah found Luca in the kitchen alone. He was standing by the table, looking at the chair where she had once sat humiliated. She walked up beside him. "Thinking about your empire?" "No." "Your enemies?" "No." Then what he looked at her. "The first time I saw you here, I thought I was angry because they disrespected you." And now, his hand found hers beneath the warm kitchen light. "Now I know I was angry because some part of me already knew you belonged beside me. I was just too much of a coward to admit it." Hannah smiled. The great Luca Belandi. A coward. His thumb brushed over her knuckles. "Only with you." She leaned into him as rain began softly against the windows. In the dining room, the long formal table remained empty. In the kitchen, the lights stayed on. And for the first time in his life, Luca Belandi did not feel weaker because someone could break his heart. He felt human. He felt chosen. And when Hannah rested her head against his chest, he lowered his mouth to her hair and whispered the vow he had never spoken in any church. "Courtroom, or blood-bound room of men. No one sends you away from my table again." Hannah closed her eyes. Outside, New York kept its secrets. Inside, the most dangerous man in the city held the woman, who had taught him the difference between possession and love. And in the warm heart of the mansion, where humiliation had once been served on a cold plate, a new family began exactly where no one had expected it. In the kitchen,